Good evening. I'm calling to order the special Fairfax Town Council meeting, March 30th. Michelle, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Kohler.
Here.
Councilmember Goddard.
Here.
Councilmember Ackerman.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cutrano.
Present.
And Mayor Hellman.
Here.
All present.
And may I have a motion to approve the agenda and affidavit of posting?
I'll move that. It's Barbara Kohler.
I'll second. This is Bruce.
Motion Kohler, second Ackerman. May I have a roll call vote, please, Michelle?
Yes. Councilmember Goddard.
Yes.
Councilmember Kohler.
Yes.
Councilmember Ackerman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cutrano.
Yes.
And Mayor Hellman.
Yes.
All ayes, motion passes.
Okay, well, we have one item on the agenda this evening, which is to discuss the resolution declaring the existence of a local emergency at or near 195 Pine Drive in Fairfax and authorizing the emergency procurement of materials and labor without competitive bidding. And I believe Hamid,
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
okay. Are you delivering the staff report?
It would be my pleasure.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I'll briefly go over this situation that we're in and be glad to answer any questions that you might have. Yesterday, early morning, Tuesday, early hours, the police department received a call from a concerned neighbor who had heard a very loud noise near their property. So they called the police. So the police and the fire department both went up to the hill, the location of this property at 195 Pine Drive, and they noticed, and then if you've seen some of the pictures, that the property had just basically collapsed and is down the hill, is not sitting where it used to be. And the fire department immediately disconnected the power for safety reasons, and then later on in the day, they contacted the rest of the staff, town manager, building official, myself, and we all went up to the hill to look at the situation and see what has happened. We tried to determine what has caused this serious damage to the property. And well, obviously you could see the house that used to be erected and a two-story building sitting up on columns and piles, just flat down, sitting below on the ground, on the edge of the hill. Also, we noticed two parallel crack lines in the pavement, fresh cracks, and the deepest crack was about 1.5 inches, which means the house that had the retaining wall on the side of the hill that holding, vertically holding the road up had collapsed, and so did the house. And in the process, the roadway had moved by a couple of inches, and that's thereby creating those cracks in the pavement, fresh cracks that is visible to us. So it's very apparent of what happened, that the retaining wall failed, the house collapsed, the road moved and has cracks in it. So the site has been secured, access points on both ends have been closed, so no one could go down the stairs and down the hill, because it's downhill from the street is where the house is. And so we all went down carefully, and we looked, and we also contacted our geotechnical engineer, is also our city engineer, Miller Pacific Engineering, who have the title of city engineer for town of Fairfax, but their specialty expertise is geotechnical engineering. And so we had member of that team present there. So he had looked at it, took pictures, and we all went down. And basically what it appears that, Madam Mayor, the day that you took us around to show us the hillside, I mean, you're all very familiar with the hillside, how the narrow roads are, and the hillside, and the sharp drop on the side of the road. So just picture this being a roadway and the sharp, retaining wall holding the side of the road, and then next to it is a house. So when the wall goes, so does the house, and the movement of the roadway. And looks like, from what we were easily apparent, there were a lot of excavation, a lot of groundwork underneath the property. The property had been jacked up to hold up during this construction with crib walls. We have pictures that we could share with you that shows all that. And then there also a small, the Bobcat is a little loader that would just work in small, limited spaces to move earth around. A lot of earth was moved, excavated from underneath the building, underneath the retaining wall, and they had appeared to have used it on the side of the building to build a ramp so they could ride up the ramp to the street, because from the ground below, so they could just use it as an access for construction. And also there was a debris box up there that they would just go up and down and throw things in the debris box. So it appeared that they had excavated underneath the retaining wall that holds the road, a distance of approximately 5 feet. So the bottom, every wall has an end, right? Has a top, has a bottom. The bottom of the wall was exposed, and 5 feet beyond the bottom of the wall was exposed. And what they had placed in place of what they had removed was a plywood. I don't know what the purpose of that plywood was, but plywood is not made to hold the road up. Plywood is just plywood, and maybe hold some dirt and debris, but it's no structural strength that would act as a retaining wall. So, and then, yes, there was some local rain, but in my opinion, opinion of our geotechnical engineer and city engineer, this wall has been there for many years through inches and inches and inches of rain. We don't think that that little rain had, contrary to what has been reported by some reporters, that much to do with the failure of the wall. It was the excavation by the whomever it was doing the excavation that caused the failure and undermined the retaining wall. Retaining wall lost its strength. The earth has a lot of pressure. Even without the rain, the soil has a lot of pressure. That's why you build the retaining wall to hold the soil in place. And that pressure forced the wall to collapse partially. Actually, in its collapsed form, is helping to hold some of the roadway. If we had collapsed further, it would have been a lot farther. That 1.5 inches that I explained the road moved would have been much farther, much worse. So this is our determination that the excavation, construction work, without knowledge of the city, without a permit, I might add, has led to this failure. So because public health and safety is our utmost and #1 concern, we immediately took action, called the local contractor, actually the same contractor who helped repair Sir Francis Strait, had the president of the company come, met him, showed him the situation, and we determined that obviously the wall has failed, it needs to be replaced immediately before the road moves any further and deteriorate any further. And to build the wall, we need to know the quality of the soil. To know the quality of the soil, you have to core samples and see what type of soil you have. You have clay, you have topsoil, you have bedrock, what do you have? And based on the data you get from coring samples, you design an appropriate retaining wall. So I'm sure you know everyone's so busy, including the drillers. They're booked for the next 2 months. I think we got lucky. Our geotech contacted one of the companies that he knew, and he said, they're busy for the next 2 months, but it so happened that they have a crew available tomorrow. So without hesitation, we said, book him, have him come out, do the sample, start the process. So, and they were here today, drilling the hole, getting the soil sample. It takes a couple of days to go through the lab result and get the result of the soil. And then from that, our engineers will design a wall. And then from that, you go to construction. So we have not wasted a minute to address this problem while we figure out exactly what happened. It appears to be clear what has happened, but homeowner and the people who did it probably have a little bit of a slightly different story to tell.
Well,
So,
we're here tonight to do a declaration of emergency.
exactly. So we want your approval and direction to the staff. If you can find this to be an emergency work, to approve the resolution, and after reviewing the staff report and the engineer's report, and direct the staff to move forward if you approve with the process I just described.
Yes, and if I may, Madam Mayor, let me just add that this is, as we did with Sir Francis Drake, this is a 4/5 vote. It requires 4/5 vote of the council. And it's pursuant to Public Contract Code sections 22035 and 22050. The resolution contains the necessary facts and findings. And we're asking that you adopt this resolution, and it authorizes the town manager to provide for the emergency repair, replacement of the public facilities. We're talking only about the roadway, and take any necessary actions to accomplish that. We have an estimated price in there, but it is an estimate. And so we're asking to waive bidding, public bidding, pursuant to the Public Contract Code sections.
So the scope of work is the road, not the wall.
The scope of the work is the road, but that includes, as Hamid just explained, and I think he can talk a little bit more about it if he wants to, is that includes the wall. So repairing the road, it has to be supported. Is that correct, Hamid? That's my understanding.
Yes, absolutely. The wall, the vertical wall, holds the side of the road, and the weight of the road and all the vehicles that travel through that road.
Okay,
So
thank you for
in
that.
order to secure the road, we have to rebuild the road so we could secure it. Otherwise, if we don't, the road will continue moving
Got it.
outbound.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kohler, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a question. Thank you, Hamid, and thank you, Janet. So I did read the report and the engineer's report, and I just want to confirm, well, first of all, I think it's good that you mentioned that the work was proceeding without town oversight, without permits, so we weren't aware that this work was going on. But the second part of my question is, at least in my reading of the engineer's report, we do not feel that any other properties are in danger if we move quickly. Is that correct, Hamid?
Yes, at the moment it is. There are properties way down below, farther down the ravine and the hillside, that may or may not get impacted depending whether this debris stays where it is or continue moving downwards. Do we get any more rain? Do we get any more earth movement? Could it go down? So we feel, we've discussed it with our town attorney, that she could speak to that more, but maybe we think we should notify the properties way down below that this has occurred, and then let them be aware of it and do what they think is best for them.
Okay, so based on what I read in the engineer's report, it looks like there's a potential of somebody's garden that's below. I didn't see anything else. The other thing I just want to ask, I know you had Gary Gelati out there, so the firm is prepared to work with us on an expedited basis again, is that correct, Hamid?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so other than this boring, which is going to happen tomorrow, we're not going
It
to
happened
be.
today, actually.
Oh, that's what the engineer's report, but I thought you said tomorrow. Okay, well, great. So other than that, we're not going to be impacted by issues with contractors being available based on what I read. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Hamid. Welcome to Fairfax.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goddard.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the report, Hamid. Two questions. One is I'm trying to understand the wall in terms of how it is a public facility or not. So when a road is built, of course, it needs the retaining wall to hold it up. So is that considered a public facility? That wasn't the property owner's responsibility to make sure that wall was intact, or is that all part of the public facility, if that makes sense as a question?
It's hard to tell, but in general, yes, the wall holding the road and protecting that property down below. However, it's hard to tell when this wall was built many, many years ago, and by whom. Was it by the homeowner? Was it by the city? Or was it by the developer who was developing homes all over the hillside? And it's normal for the developers who develop the hillside dwellings build such walls and provide the roadway access to the homes that they are building above or below. So it appears to be clearly in the public right-of-way. We're going to, as part of the process, we are going to, as is in the engineer's report, probably we'll conduct a survey to determine exactly right-of-way is. Usually the public right-of-way is wider than the roadway surface. So there's a good chance that this retaining wall, old one, and the new future one that will be very close to the edge of the roadway is in the public right-of-way.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
And then the second part of my question is, in terms of the properties that are past 195, so the 3 properties, will there be access for them while this road is being repaired, or how will that proceed?
Okay, so what we did as part of the initial reaction to what had happened yesterday, we asked the contractor, the gaps I mentioned that appeared in the roadway surface, asked him to come bring some asphalt and patch it. The main reason was if we get any more rain, we don't get any more water seeping into the roadway, then undermine the roadway. Today, when we went and looked at those narrow patches on the pavement, one of them had widened a little more. That means there is indicates a slight more movement towards the hill, downhill. So that's when we determined, and the town manager sent a notice to others about the fact that we were initially going to keep the road. Oh, there's only 3 homes above this point. Then it goes to a cul-de-sac, fortunately, so there is not a lot of traffic. One of them is vacant. One of the homes is vacant. Only 2 homes need access. So we thought maybe we would just allow those homes access with their own passenger vehicles. But now with what we have found, the movement after 24 hours, we feel like there shouldn't be any vehicular traffic. And the garbage company contacted Heather today, and she told them no. That debris box that the contractor put next to that failure, they wanted to move it. We said, no, we can't allow any heavy vehicle on this until we secure the road. So only 2 homes are affected at this time, and they need to park down below and walk up the hill. We are going to keep the road closed. We did try, as I said, try for 24 hours, see if we could allow them to use it. But when we noticed the movement today, we think it's safer to not allow any traffic going past this point
Okay,
until this road is secure.
thank you.
Sure.
Vice Mayor Cutrano.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Hamid, for jumping swiftly into action along with staff. I am a follow-up to Councilmember Kohler's question. I know that the staff report mentioned that there would have to be maybe some sort of like site assessment down below from that timber debris catchment that's holding some of the debris in place, but that in order to get a crane in there or some of the equipment, the first step is to do the roadway stabilization. So in the coming couple of weeks, is that what we're expecting, is that the roadway is stabilized and then the gelati would come in and remove some of the debris, or what's the sort of process that the neighborhood could expect?
The roadway will only be stabilized once we build the wall.
Right.
The next couple of weeks would be taking the data from the soil sampling today, designing a wall within as fast as we can within a week and a half, and then getting the contractor without any bidding process and any waiting, which a month or two it takes at least, to jump in there, depending on what material. If we decide to build a wall, is it steel, is it concrete, is it wood, what material he needs, give him that information so he could order the material, get it up there, and start building it. Once he builds the wall, then the road is secure from moving. And once that happens, yes, heavier equipment could get up there as normal and access the site, not only for our work, but the homeowner for cleaning up their site and moving forward with whatever it is they want to do with their property.
Thank you very much for clarifying. It sounds like there's some work ahead. So
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for Heather, Hamid, Mark, everyone who pulled this off in the last 36 hours. If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to open public comment. Okay. I see one hand up.
Madam Mayor, would you like me to call on
Yes,
people?
yes, please.
Okay. First speaker is Frank Egger, and I've unmuted you. You might need to unmute yourself. If you can find the mute button on your screen.
Frank, you're still muted.
Frank, can you find, if you're on a computer, you sort of hover over the controls, you'll find a microphone icon and click on that once.
Maybe he stepped away.
Maybe he's on the phone. Is that *6 that you do?
How about this?
There you go. There you go. Bingo.
Okay,
Thank you.
Frank Egger, Meadoway. In 1982, Pine Drive experienced major landslides. It was shortly after the flood of '82, and the road was blocked. Emergency equipment could not even get in there to provide services. We had to have firefighters hike in, climb over the landslide to get in. The next day, I contacted then Governor Jerry Brown, and he had the National Guard in Fairfax to open up Pine Drive plus 2 other roads the next day. It looked like a war zone here in Fairfax in 1982. The last 2 properties on the downside of Pine Drive have had stability issues dating back at least 30 years. In about 25 years ago, we had a request for a house to be built just right across the street. And our then engineer had some tech information about that hillside and said it's unsafe to build up there. And we actually turned down the application to build a new house across the street from this one. And they threatened to sue us, but in the end, they never sued us because of the instability of the hillside. This is a pretty big project. And I don't know what Fairfax department should have caught this, but it was a big project. Let's see, I'm thinking it's 2001 Cascade Drive had a similar project going as a downhill lot. And it was up on blocks like this one was up on blocks, although it had permits. And it slipped off the blocks. And fortunately, when it slipped, it leaned into the hillside and the house did not collapse. It could have collapsed. It was a really serious issue. So it's really important that Fairfax get a handle on this, on how it got so far along with no permits. I thought, I would imagine it would have had permits, but so the question I have, did the house slide pull the roadway down? I mean, did they pull the public road down when the house went and it pulled the retaining wall down? So I think that's what you need to find out. You need to have is it some of the engineering companies that we use to make that determination as to what caused the road to slide. And it looks like to me the structure collapsed, pulled the wall over, and then it is pulling the road down. So you may have some way to help fund that slide. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. I don't see any other hands.
Neither do I, Madam Mayor, if you want to close the public comment.
Okay, we'll close the public comment period. If you have any other questions or comments, are we ready to make a motion?
I'd be happy to make the motion if we're ready. I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I see Bruce, your hand is up.
No, I don't need to. Go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. I'd like to make a motion that the council approve emergency resolution 22-21.
I'll second that motion. And do we need to read the resolution? I can read the title. I can read that if you'd like.
I can read it. I have a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fairfax declaring the existence of a local emergency at or near 195 Pine Drive, Fairfax, and authorizing the emergency procurement of materials and labor without competitive bidding.
Okay, I'll second that, and I'll note that as it says in the staff report, the findings in that resolution will become part of the minutes of this meeting. So.
Thank you, Bruce.
Motion Kohler, second Ackerman. Michelle, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Goddard,
Yes.
Councilmember Ackerman,
Yes.
Councilmember Kohler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cutrano,
Yes.
and Mayor Hellman.
Yes.
That's all ayes, motion passes.
Yeah.
Thank you again for pulling us together. And
thanks to Mark for being out there with.
that's right.
I think Mark is actually attending. I want to thank him, but thanks to all of you, Hamid, Heather, our police fire, for going out there and moving this so quickly, and Janet for helping with the reso.
And if I could add just also a thanks to Mark for your communication on the news. It was clear, it was calming, and really appreciate your your tenor and your tone. Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting and wish you all a pleasant evening.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.